Hi, I'm Susan. Welcome to Tea and Games. How do you like my mug? Today, I'm only going to be talking about two games, and neither of them are unplayed games. I know I promised a video on my unplayed game shelf, but here's the deal. Between now and when I made the previous video, it occurred to me that making a video about my unplayed game shelf would be kind of a jerk move right now, because last week lots of people were making videos about all of the games they were going to get at Gen Con and looking forward to Gen Con and making my Gen Con list. And this week they're going to be talking about their Gen Con haul. And so I kind of thought that it would be sort of raining on everyone's parade, and viewers too, because viewers want to look at those all the loot people got at Gen Con videos. They're not going to be terribly happy to see me sitting here going like, and this is the stack of great games I bought years ago that I haven't played. So we're not doing the unplayed games video right now. We're going to kind of let the magic dust of Gen Con settle before I start talking about the problems with having bought lots and lots of really good games. And the good news is that we played 3 new games this past weekend, and in addition to Starfinder. And so if I wait a bit to do that unplayed games video, we may play more. So anyhow, we've got new subscribers. Welcome to new subscribers. I get a few new kind of almost every week. I'm now up to 80 subscribers, which is just kind of mind-blowing and kind of nerve-wracking in a weird sort of way, but it's kind of a good nervous, I guess. It's just kind of strange for me because my husband Robert and I are casual weekend board gamers, and I just started making these videos so that I could talk to far-flung friends and family about board games, those of my friends and family that play board games, about what we're playing over the weekend and what games we bought, or, you know, just board game topics in general. And a lot of people are watching, so that's kind of neat. I'm wondering though, our first anniversary is coming up September 21st. That's when I started the channel. Oh, those early videos, those first 2 videos, I was so terrified and I so didn't know what I'm doing. Look at this, I still have to have my notebook as my security blanket here, and I'm just fiddling with stuff. So the nerves are not totally gone, but I'm much better, yes. So yeah, I'm wondering if maybe we could hit 100 by September 21st, and at least hang on to 100 through September 21st if we can hit it. So if you've ever been thinking about recommending this channel to anyone, have at it. Now would be a good time. I mean, even if they bail out by the end of September, maybe I'll still like make a magic number for the first anniversary. Well, whatever. If you like my videos, subscribe. If you don't like, that's fine, because different strokes for different folks. People like different things. Let me see. I did that. I said that. One of the, I said we played 3 unplayed games this weekend in addition to Starfinder, which I will get to in a minute. All 3 of my unplayed games are games that most board game people were going to be familiar with. It's like, oh, we are so late to the party. You know, it's like we're the last ones to know. But no, we're really just the last ones to get games and play them. We played the 2 Opolis games from Button Shy that we hadn't played. We had played Sprawlopolis, and we've now played Agropolis and Naturopolis. We have not played any of the combos and expansions yet, though. The base games are giving us enough trouble. And Robert is usually really good at those tile laying game things, but he is just not keen on these. And they have just eaten our lunch every time we've played. But we are enjoying Potions Class, which is another Button Shy game I got recently that I don't think I've mentioned on the channel. And he's doing really well at that. He's won most of those games. I tend to blow up the cauldron. But the other unplayed game, the bigger unplayed game that we got to this weekend after we did Starfinder on Saturday, which I will get to in a moment, is Lost Ruins of Arnak, which most of you probably already know about. It's not a terribly new game. It just at Gen Con they announced, I think, or released their second expansion to it. I hesitated about getting this because it's big. You can tell by the board here, which is sideways on the table, that it takes up a good chunk of table space. And big games, they tend to have like long setups and long playtimes and long teardowns. And it's like you sit down and you play a game and you're looking around and you're going like, well, that pretty much shot the day. And so we tend to play a lot more smaller games because we can just like drop a smaller game onto the table and play it very, very fast. But so I hesitated about getting it because I thought, how often are we going to play it? Because we've got other bigger games like that take up the whole damn table that we're doing good if we get one play a year in, because they also take up the whole damn day. So anyhow, I was hesitant, but they had it on sale for Prime Day, and in addition to the discount, there was a coupon, so it was nearly half off. So I thought, yeah, it's cheap enough for the number of plays we may get. So I'm going to put a link below to Monique and Naveen's teach and playthrough of this for any of you that aren't already familiar with the game. But for myself, because so many people are already familiar with this game, I'm just going to hit on a couple of practical points. The supply board. It folded up on me. Sorry about that. The supply board is separate from the main board, and they have you put it down here at the bottom. The only reason for putting it down here at the bottom is that if you put it right side up, which I didn't the first time, is that this part here connects to the research track, or the temple track as it's sometimes called. We did play on the side of the board with the bird temple, which is the easier side. But really, this board could go anywhere. In Monique and Naveen's video, it's off camera because it mostly just keeps your stuff. It has your resources. It has your resources. It has assistance that you can draw when you get to a certain point on the research track. And then it's got like the loot for the temples that you draw when you open up a new temple, and the temple guardian. They're stacked there. So really, honest to goodness, you can put these in bit bowls and you can stack them anywhere on the table or on like a little secondary table. If having this ginormous board, let's see if I can do this board without it folding up on me. This ginormous board here. If it's just too much to have this sticking down at the end of it. Another practical matter I would like to say, particularly for people who have not played this game, or who played the game but somebody else did the setup on it. You're looking at this and you're going like, wow, there are spots all over this board where you're supposed to put stuff. And, okay, let me show you what comes with this game if you haven't actually already seen it. See, big box of stuff. But here's the thing. We set up this game a couple of weeks ago thinking that we were going to play it, but we ran out of time and didn't play it. And then we needed the dining room table for other things. So I picked it all up, packed it up, and then we got it out on Sunday to play. And I just set it up like that. And that was something that surprised me, because you look at a big board and it's got, it's got a bunch of different spots where you're supposed to put stuff, and it's got various decks, and it's got tiles, and it's got doohickeys. And you're thinking like, oh yeah, you need to count in setup time. But not really. I mean, I was really, and it's like, this is not one of those games where where you're always going to have to pull out the book and look at the book to set it up. Absolutely not. I did not do that. I laid it out on the board, and despite having like set it up previously like a week or so before, I laid everything out. Now, I did pull out the book just basically to check my work, and everything was fine. I remembered everything because, I mean, it's very self-evident. You put these there, you put that there. It's like it shows you where stuff goes. So once you've taken it out of the box and you've become familiar with what all of the stuff is. Like, you know, these are the resources, and these are the idols, and these are the tiles that go on the research track, and these are the guardians, and these are, you know, once you become familiar with what all the components are, then you just lay this on, then you just open the thing, you go 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, and just lay it out. And I mean, setup goes very fast once you're familiar with the game. I set it up once, and after that, I didn't have to look at the book to set it up. So don't think that because this has got just like tons of tiny little bits that this is going to be a long setup. And a lot of those tiny little bits are going to go into bit balls or in piles on the supply board. So that's a practical matter. Now, that I do want to mention for anybody that might say, it's like another one of those games that's going to take me an hour to set up. It's not. It's really not. Oh gosh, my compasses got thrown out of the box when I was shaking it. But I will say that putting it all away afterwards, that actually did take a bit of time. I was kind of surprised about that because, like I said, I laid that board out and I was like opening bags and just laid everything out very, very quickly and efficiently. But when the game was over, it did take me a while to pick everything up and bag it up and put it away. So that is what you will need to keep in mind in terms of whether or not this game is longish for you or too fiddly or whatever. And speaking of time, they say 30 minutes per player. It took longer than that for us because we were still sort of unsure of what we were doing and unsure of what we were supposed to be doing on the first game, where, you know, we would have to stop and look up what the symbols meant, at least at the beginning of the game. It's like on every move we were looking stuff up, like to the iconography, but that stopped like after a while because it's not like it's difficult. I've played games with much worse iconography than this. You're going to be fine on the icons, trust me on this, because it's like, if we did not get confused and forgetful and whatever about like, oh, what is this icon again, then you're not going to. But yeah, it was a little slower than the 30 minutes per person for us because it was our first playthrough. The score came out very, very close. I actually don't remember now who won because it was a very close game. You're not doing head-to-head competition and you're not like messing with the other people's stuff, except in the sense that other players may get the cards that you want or go to the locations that you want or reach a spot on the research track first if you don't get there in time or whatever. So they may get a tile that you wanted on the research track or something like that. So there is that. And now it's time for the handy dandy notebook. But I mean, you're not like actively messing with people. I wouldn't call this a mean game at all. And now for the level up portion of the video. We played Starfinder Saturday at the Board Game Cafe again. Same GM. Different players. Actually, there was a little bit of confusion, and one of the players who was supposed to play thought the game wasn't happening, and we went ahead and went, but he didn't, so we ended up actually one player short than what we really probably needed for a bare minimum. There were only 3 of us plus the GM. Robert and I, both mechanics. I had a drone. He has the Exocortex. For those of you who haven't seen the previous videos, Sparky's okay. I know a lot of you expressed your condolences and concerns over Sparky. Sparky's fine. In fact, we leveled up. We're now level 2. So Sparky's in really good shape now. Sparky has 20 hit points. Sparky is my drone. But yeah, we played our 3rd scenario, which in organized play means that we level up every 3 scenarios. So after the 3rd one, we leveled up to 2. Assuming that we survived it, which was very much touch and go. This was, and I do think that this had something to do with player count for a lot of things. First of all, we got a starship for this mission. They sent us on a starship. So it's like we got a ship from the Starfinder Society. So we're going like, it's not a big ship. So we're like hot damn, a ship. But I think there were 4 stations on the ship. So like I said, it's not one of the big ships, but we only had 3 players. So that means we weren't able to fill all of the stations on the starship. So of course, if they're going to give us a starship, they're going to give us starship combat. So that meant that we didn't have enough people to fill all the stations, which could have given us bonuses and help on some of the things that we did. I think there was a science officer slot, or maybe it was magician. It may have been, it was either science or magic or something like that. There was an unfilled slot. Our operative was the pilot. He actually had the best pilot numbers. Robert has really good pilot numbers, but he had 2 more. So yeah, he was the pilot. Robert and I both had the same numbers for computers and engineering. Our numbers on other stuff are very different, but computers and engineering, the numbers were the same. So we decided that he would do engineering and I would do gunnery. So it was my responsibility to shoot down the ship and everything that the ship threw at us, or shoot down the ship in order to destroy everything that the ship was throwing at us. So, I mean, it was just, it went on and on and on. It took way too long, I think. But part of that is like combat rules in Starfinder. The GM said, wow, somebody needs to do something about the starship combat rules. After the game, he said that. It's like, and there is going to be a 2nd edition of Starfinder, so it will be interesting to see what changes they make. It could be that they will streamline starship combat. We needed, I think, a little more maneuverability. Well, no, actually our ship was fairly maneuverable, but we needed streamlining, I don't know, the play or something, but also we really needed another person. But I did get a couple of critical hits and took the ship down. The pilot and I, Robert's going like, we should not just keep going to the planet with the planetary defenses shooting at us. And I'm going like, we have to get down to the planet to fulfill the mission. We're going to the planet one way or another. So it's like, we're going to have, it really was a running gun battle. It's like, if we're going to be fighting them, we might as well just keep heading in the direction of the planet rather than just like shooting off into space some other way. And he's going like, then we would just be a sitting duck on the planet for them to shoot at us. And I'm saying like, we still need to get to the planet. And the pilot agreed with me. He wanted to run, and he wanted to run. His first move was like, can we just back off? And I'm going like, wait a minute, the position here, if we back off, that takes us toward the planet, right? So, and he's going like, yeah. So I'm going like, yes, do that. So it was kind of 2 to 3. So we headed toward the planet, and it was a running gun battle with firing on either sides as we made the run for the planet. Now, ideally, we need to destroy the ship before we land on the planet, or what Robert said will indeed be true. We'll basically be sitting ducks there on the planet for the massive planetary defenses to come to bear upon us. We will have less firepower, perhaps, from the planet. But, you know, it still seemed like a good idea. And it worked out. We destroyed the ship, but we were in Atmo already by the time the ship was completely hulled all the way through and blew up. And that took out all of the subsidiary ships as well. So yeah, we did it. We survived starship combat. It wasn't pretty, but we did it. And then we got down to the planet, which had, it had ruins, deserted. We needed to check out whether or not there was a civilization there. Some other Starfinders had gone to check it out and had run afoul of the planetary defenses and basically just beat feet for home to report. So we're the next wave to check it out, to find out what's going on with the planetary defenses, make first contact with any civilizations that might be there, although looking around on the planet, it does not look good. I mean, these are ruins, and they're not recent ruins. And I was really hoping, because I knew we were going to go to a planet with ruins, that my profession in Starfinder, which is xenoarchaeologist, and that's not like class, although you can do that as a class or theme. I can't remember if it's class or theme. You can do that, but instead of doing that for class or theme, I added it as a profession down on my skills list, because I figured that it would come in handy for certain exploratory things. But as luck turned out, I mean, Arnak, yeah, we explored ruins. I got to do an archaeologist thing. But in Starfinder, not so much. But the biggest problem was, as soon as we hit the ground, we were attacked by this massive beast. I mean, it looked kind of like a super bulked up lion with like a bigger ruff of fur and more muscular and probably bigger than a lion. And the GM had a mini and that he was using to stand in for the creature that immediately leaped down and began attacking us. And the mini he used was like this big toad mini. And in some ways, that struck me as being really an appropriate sub-in for the lion beast. He showed us a picture of it because the beast seemed to have a really tough hide. I mean, really. It was like we just had a very difficult time doing any damage to it. And the problem was it had no problem at all doing damage to us. There were only 3 of us, remember, and we're level 1. And this is a scenario for levels 1 through 4. So we have 3 level 1 players. None of us were terribly experienced at this, so it was bad. In pretty much nothing flat, Robert was down. Even though I use my bodyguard feat. I have 2 feats because I was level 1. I switched my my Lashunta character to be rugged instead of student. With student, you get a couple of extra points and a couple of extra skills, which could have been helpful, and I think that did give me really good numbers, like in the very first scenario we saw. But the feat that I had chosen for my 1 feat was toughness. And toughness is a feat that you get if you do the Lashunta as rugged rather than student. So instead of getting those skills, you get toughness as an extra feat. So I'm going like, well, I wanted toughness anyway, and I was lamenting the fact that I didn't have bodyguard, which I also wanted. And I mean, those are not the best feat, but they're kind of the best overall feats for all situations, but they're what I wanted. They kind of fit with the way I play. So I wanted those 2 feats, and by doing rugged, I lost some bonuses and skills that I could have had as a Lashunta, but I gained an extra feat. So I was doing bodyguard feat on Robert, and he still went down. I mean, pretty quick. He's a little Yusoki, and his constitution is not good. He went down, and even with my bodyguard feat, and he took hits, and I gave him a healing serum. I had stocked up on healing serums before the mission, and I also got that as my bonus boon, so I had 1 extra. So I had 3 healing serums, and I just burned through them. The only reason why Robert's character survived at all is because on my turn, I poured a healing serum down his throat every turn. And then, of course, I was getting hit too. Our operative was the second one to go down, which really surprised me. He took a couple of bad hits. And he was the second one to go down. And when I say he went down, I mean, we're talking about out of stamina points and like hit points. And so, I mean, we reached the point fairly quickly where everyone was out of stamina and they were lying unconscious on the ground in danger of dying, even though I'm slapping on med patches and pouring healing serums. And I'm the only one standing with only 3 hit points. So it was grim. It was like my worst RPG nightmare. And Robert just he actually looked genuinely sick taking those hits, you know. And I have to say that it is now shown beyond a shadow of a doubt that our RGM is not trying to kill us and was not trying to kill us. I have to say, I have never in my life seen anyone look so bad rolling high numbers. I mean, he looked miserable and shocked and horrified. And I mean, our GM was not in good shape for part of this game because he was having a rough time of it, because there are plot points here that are woven into combat that we cannot engage with elements of the storyline if we die, you know? So, I mean, we needed to get to the point where we could re-engage with the part of the storyline that we were supposed to be interacting with during the attack. And we did, but we ended up having to have some help to do that from natives. So it's like, you know, it was really fortunate that the natives were friendly, because if the natives had not been friendly, it's like they would have, you know, abandoned the starship orbiting the planet, bodies of 3 starfarers lying on the surface, and that would have been the last they heard of us, you know. The Starfinder Society would have been sending out another ship to discover what happened, you know. But we were able to meet a couple of different civilizations, not living in the ruins, surprisingly enough. So that was kind of interesting too. They had built their civilization, rebuilt their civilization. It was kind of a post-apocalyptic kind of thing, but they seemed to be doing very well for themselves. So I believe that the apocalypse thing that wiped out the city, I think it was nuclear, and it was like a long, long time ago. So they had time to rebuild, and they were doing okay, but they were having power trouble. Because the planetary defense system was very twitchy, and it basically, anything that went by, it just kind of went shooting at it. And this was causing brownouts and blackouts and intermittent power stuff in the city, you know. So, I mean, they've got a nice civilization, a good start on things, and everything, but they were having power problems. Partly, I hate to say, because it was our fault, being Starfinders. We kept sending ships nosing around, and then the planetary defenses would get all twitchy and go all active, and then the city would start having power interruptions. So the problem was kind of ours. So anyhow, using our computer and engineering skills, we were able to sort out their power problems and sort out the planetary defense problems, and everybody lived happily ever after. They healed us up very nicely. That was a good thing. By the time we left the planet, we were all okay. And we headed back to Epsilon Station, made our report. It was all good, but this was a very, very rough thing. I feel like I really earned that level up at the end of this. But I'm very excited about leveling up. Level up. And I mean, you're going like, you're level 2, big whoop. But I mean, that's like regular RPG people. They're going like, yeah, level 2, whatever. But for us, it's a big deal because we don't play RPGs. And because, let's face it, level 1 is kind of sucky. Level 2, a little bit less so. You get a little bit more stuff. My drone gets upgraded because I get upgraded, and the drone is where my exocortex lives. Robert's exocortex is like in a suit or something, or his arm or something like that. It's built in, basically. So, and other players don't necessarily have exocortexes, but Sparky's doing really good. I'm doing really good. I get a mechanic trick at level 2, and there's a long list of, and you were thinking like low levels, what could you possibly do? Listen, for the lower level mechanic tricks, most of the mechanic tricks, they're basically for lower levels and up. So I've got a lot of choices. So I'm thinking about it. I've got a little bit of time, and there is another Starfinder game on the horizon. There may be another game in a couple of weeks, and the only reason why I say maybe, it's definitely on the schedule, but my niece's birthday party is being scheduled, rescheduled kind of thing, and I'm not real sure when that's going to be. So if my niece's birthday party is at the same time as the Starfinder thing, then Robert and I will have to bail out from that. But we don't yet know what day and time it's going to be. So if we can make it, we definitely will, because we're having a lot of fun and because the GM has expressed an interest in basically nurturing the new players that are coming into the game by making sure that they have level appropriate games they can play. And he scheduled 2 games a couple of weeks apart and indicated that he's going to try to keep some games there to get the players that are starting leveled up. So that means it may not take us a year to level up. I mean, it may take us like 6 months to hit level 5, and that would put us out of the bottom of the basement in terms of the scenarios we play. But it was a huge amount of fun. We got to explore our planet. We got to meet new people. I got to talk to them using a translator. So it was very good. I liked it a lot, except for all the deathy stuff. We could do without the deathy stuff. I don't like the deathy stuff at all, because it's just kind of felt like here we were on the verge of leveling up, and then we were about to all die and have like everything snatched away from us. It just, and totally fail, like literally the minute we landed on the planet. So that did not feel good. Our GM does not use a GM screen, and I think he was probably desperately wishing he had one during that one so he could have fudged the dice roll or something, because he looked as miserable as we did when he was rolling. Oh my God. He went on a streak where he was rolling amazing numbers. It's like what I wouldn't give to roll numbers like that, like on my side, but he just looked so miserable. It's like, because he did not want to kill his party. And I like the fact that the GM is to some extent invested in the party's success. I mean, it's like you're not a good storyteller if you kill off the listeners without taking them through the story, or the participants without taking them through the story. So we managed to extricate ourselves with the GM's help with the timely intervention of the natives before we were all dead. And the beast was dispatched, and it tasted good. Yeah, there was a feast and festivities. We got there just in time for a religious festival, and they were like fine with us like being there, even though it was like a religious festival kind of thing. So it was very good. Very nice natives. Not so nice beast. But I'm looking forward to playing more Starfinder. Especially, I'm looking forward to seeing if level 2 makes a difference, because for one thing, I can now get level 2 weapons, which are a little bit better. I've got enough money that I can afford level 2 weapons, because you get paid at the end of every successful mission. So I'm gonna like gussy up Sparky and maybe get him some cool stuff, and maybe get myself another weapon. I don't know. I'm wondering if I should get an energy weapon in addition to my projectile weapons, although the weapon I was looking at was a really heavy duty projectile weapon. But I'm wondering if maybe I should just like attach that to Sparky and then get an energy weapon for myself. I'm not sure. Like I said, a lot of choices, a lot of options, and I've got to figure out what I want to get for my mechanics feat. And I think there's some other stuff we get when we level up too. There's like a whole list. So I'm going through stuff and looking at all the options for leveling up and what my new numbers will be. So that's good. It's very, very good. We got a little bit more breathing room, and possibly we won't die the next time. I do think, though, that if we had had a party of 6 instead of a party of 3, we would have done better in starship combat, and we would have done, because we could have filled all the slots on the ship, and we definitely would have done better against the beast, because all of us would have taken half as many hits if we would have been a party of 6. So there wouldn't have been nobody gasping out their last breath. And also we would have had, twice as many hits on the beast. I mean, there'll be some misses in there, obviously, but still, on balance, if we had had twice as many people, this wouldn't have been as brutal as it was. So the lower player count things they're tough. Yeah, you really do better, even at lower level scenarios. You really do significantly better if you have larger parties. This is the smallest party we've had. So that's going to be kind of a thing. Right now, there are only 3 people signed up for the other Starfinder, so I'm hoping that somebody else jumps in so that we get at least 4. Because, I mean, I would really like for us to have a full party for this next one. We're going aboard a derelict starship. Goodness knows what we will find there. It could be anything. We need more people. So it's been fun sitting around the table, recounting our life and near-death experiences among the Lost Ruins of Arnak and among the Lost Ruins of Elytrio. I think that may have been the name of the planet, but that wasn't the name of the people on the planet. They were Gabrani. We got a Gabrani weapon to use while we were there too. Shot like crazy, really good. And we did have an opportunity to use it post-beast. We could have really used it back when we had the beast though. Anyhow, we've been having a lot of fun playing games. We are casual weekend board gamers, and we're going to be playing more games on the weekend. Next weekend will be board games, not RPGs. So, yeah, fun stuff ahead. It's been good. I'll see y'all next time around the table. And until then, level up!